Tonight on Joy News, Prime Minister for Lands and Natural Resources directs persons and companies engaged in recognizance or prospecting in forest reserves with or without legal authorization to suspend such activities until further notice. The tension between the people of land and the Ghana Armed Forces is escalating as the coalition of La associations vow not to relent until they retrieve their lands.
To call on the Speaker of Parliament to institute a bipartisan probe into the events of Thursday, April 15, 2021, in which the Ghana Armed Forces exhibited so much indiscipline and disregard for life and limbs and engaging in conduct contrary to their military code.
Government is, however, urging calm.
Is engaging all the stakeholders. He called for calm, and he's in a way finding solutions to the matter immediately.
Some civil society organizations against the Agyapa mineral royalties agreement say they are hopeful that government would revise its approach when it represents the deal.
All these things put together amounts to a certain breach of faith. For want of a better word, I would say breach of faith, because I was tempted to say deceit of the citizenry, which undermines public trust and faith in what government is attempting to do.
In business, government's agenda to build 111 hospitals across the country not feasible. We hear why there's a push for government to use funds to rather restructure the NHIS. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our studios in Accra, in Kokomlemle, on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is your home of independence, credible and fearless journalism. Many thanks for choosing us. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has directed persons and companies engaged in recognizance or prospecting in forest reserves with or without legal authorization to suspend such activities until further notice. In a signed public notice, Samuel Abujinapo directed the Minerals Commission with immediate effect not to accept, process or recommend a grant, including renewal and or extension of recognizance and prospecting licenses in forest reserves. Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Mrekuduka, has however been explaining this current directive.
Most of the prospecting licenses are available. After going through, monitoring and evaluation, we realized that they were not using them for the purposes of which the licenses were acquired. So there was a need, and this is specifically for those mining in the forest zone and not mining in general. So he's not putting a ban on mining in general, but those prospecting in the forest zone. And that is what he's doing.
So
it is not mining, putting a ban on mining.
How long do we expect to see this ban in place?
Depending on how we comply with the kind of advice put out there. If we comply and we get all the database, available, we'll do the regularization and get things running. And the interest of the government is to get mining done responsibly, and that is what we can do. So he's seeking to get the sector well regularized.
And that was Mrekuduka, who is the Deputy Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources. Now, the directive reads, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources directs persons and or companies engaged in recognizance and or prospecting in forest reserves with or without legal authorization to suspend such activities until further notice. The Minister has further directed the Minerals Commission with immediate effect not to accept, process and or recommend the grant, including renewal and or extension of recognizance and prospecting licenses in forest reserves. And the minister also accordingly hereby gives persons and or companies engaged in that activity or prospecting in forest reserves 7 days from the date of the publication of this notice to cease their operations and evacuate their equipment accordingly. And he served notice on and requested the various regional security councils to strictly enforce this directive, and is signed by Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, MP and Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Now, joining me via phone is General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Godwin Ama, and he'll be talking more about this. Ms. Ama, what would you say is the initial reaction of the association to this directive?
Okay, good evening, and good evening to listeners too. One, the small-scale miners per law are not allowed to work in forest reserves. Any activity that goes on in the forest reserve is done by the large-scale operators. So it will not affect the small-scale miners that much, because we are, per law, we are not supposed to even go there. Anyone working in the forest reserve, aside those who have been issued with licenses, which are very few large-scale operators who have that capacity to even be permitted or given some sort of license to operate. The rest, majority of them are doing illegal mining. And you know, the forest is the land of this country. So for the minister to take that step is a step in the right direction. That will ensure that we limit the number of people working illegally in our forest reserve. But those who have been issued with permits, there will be some sort of financial implications on them. So I think once we've given them the permit, if they are doing the right thing, they should be allowed to continue with their exploration.
I know this is different from the ban imposed on small-scale mining in the first term of this administration, but how do we ensure this doesn't drag as we saw with the ban on small-scale mining?
Yeah, that is what we need to do, because there are few companies that are given permit to work. The Minerals Commission can identify them. It's only few companies. I don't think those companies will be more than 15. So they can be identified. You have their geographical locations are there. They have their maps. So those people can be identified. If they are doing the right thing, if they are going according to the permits that have been issued by the EP and the Minerals Commission, they should be allowed to carry on their operation. But those who are not doing it right should be sanctioned. Those who are doing illegal mining in the forest reserves, for me or for the association, the best thing to be done is for them to reclaim first before they move their equipment out. Because if the equipment are taken out, who is going to reclaim those places? They should be given some few days to reclaim areas that they mine, and then ensure that they reforestate the place. Else, it will be a cost on government. It's an operation that is illegal, and government is not making anything out of it. So why should government bear the cost of the reclamation? So this is our advice, that those who are doing it illegally and they don't have any permit, they should pay for the full cost of their operating illegally.
I'm grateful for your time. General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Godwin Ama there. Joining me also via Zoom is Ken Ashigbe. He's convener for Media Coalition on Illegal Mining. Mr. Ashigbe, I'm grateful for your time. Have you seen the latest directive from the Lands and Natural Resources Minister?
Well, thank you very much, Aisha. I had it first on Joy during the top story, and then you also shared a copy with me. I think that let me wish the minister a happy birthday, and I think this is the best birthday present that he has given to us. He's demonstrated that he's a man of his word. I remember when the coalition met him, he talked about he was going to look into these issues and take the right action. And I think it is right that the minister has decided to issue the 7-day notice so that the people who are prospecting would suspend their activities and they will be looked into. I heard my other colleague talk about those who have permits to prospect. Prospecting, in terms of what you're allowed to do in prospecting, is really it's very straightforward. And I think that it would be easy for the Minerals Commission to quickly identify those who have been given the permit and find out whether they are only doing streaming, soil sampling, pitting, and drenching. Anybody who, if you're doing anything else, it's an illegality, and definitely these people need to be dealt with. Fortunately for us as well, we have a law. The PNDC, the government amended in the last parliament, amended the Minerals and Mining Act and made the punishment severe. I am praying hard that all of us will support the minister, that anybody who is found culpable in engaging in mining when they do not have the permit so to do will be punished. A typical one that I would throw to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to look at is the issue of Heritage Imperial. Heritage Imperial, remember that was the site that Erastus went to.
Exactly.
Heritage Imperial, in suing the multimedia, the writ that they filed talk about, and if you would permit me to just quote, I think 27 of their the writ, Article 27 or thereabout, it's 21. It says that the plaintiff contends that if mining activities are legitimate without a shred of illegality. This is Heritage Imperial saying that it's mining activities. It didn't talk about its prospecting activities. Now, if you go to what we wrote to the EPA on a search on Imperial, on Heritage Imperial, and let me also read a portion of what the EPA said to us in their letter of 2nd of February 2021. It says the agency wished to state that Heritage Imperial Limited has been issued with a prospecting permit dated the 17th of July 2019 and would expire on the 16th of July 2021. The permit allows the company to engage in only, and the only is in caps and bolded, exploratory activities.
Okay.
So if they in their rate say they are mining, while they don't have a permit to mine, that is definitely an illegality.
Definitely the Lands and Natural Resources must look into this matter and bring it to its logical conclusion. I'm grateful for your time. Ms. Akinashigbe is convener for the Media Coalition for Illegal Mining. Now, the tension between the people of La and the Ghana, he's the convener for Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, I beg your pardon. Now, the tension between the people of La and the Ghana Armed Forces is escalating as a coalition of La associations have vowed not to relent until they retrieve their lands. The coalition claims the military has encroached on their lands. A few weeks ago, members of the coalition and traditional leaders converged and protested on some lands in contention located between Charado and Airport Hills around the military cemetery. The protesters and the media were violently removed from the premises, an action the Ghana Armed Forces has justified as necessary to protect military installations. Today, the group is calling on the Minister for Lands to stick to a previous resolution.
This was the scene exactly 1 week ago when some protesters led by the coalition of La associations and some traditional leaders were beaten by the military over allegations that the military were encroaching on their lands. The association says they will not relent until what they describe as their rightful lands are returned to them.
In 1953, the people of La, through the then paramount chief, Ni Agyapa IV, gave out a little parcel of land measuring about 23.7 acres to the government, the colonial administration. At that time, the West African Frontier Force, of which Ghana was part, had returned from the World Wars, and they needed a place to establish a camp. So they were given that land to establish the Gifford camp. They were supposed to pay a compensation of £20 per annum for 10 years. Now, the military or government through the military have not paid a penny of that compensation. They have also outlived the tenure of the lease that was given to them. What the military has now done is to expand their territory to cover over 3,000 acres.
They are asking Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor to stick to an earlier consensus reached on returning the land to the La people.
It is interesting to note that just a day after the unfortunate incident, members of the La Traditional Council were invited to meet the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, to discuss issues surrounding the land in contention. It was our expectation that the Honorable Minister would engineer the implementation of the laudable consensus engineered by his predecessor with the interested parties, which included the Ghana Armed Forces, made on November 27, 2020.
The coalition of La Association also wants the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, to constitute a bipartisan committee to investigate the assault on the protesters and call the military to order.
We wish to take this opportunity to call on the Speaker of Parliament to institute a bipartisan probe into the events of Thursday, April 15, 2021, in which the Ghana Armed Forces exhibited so much indiscipline and disregard for life and limbs, and engaging in conduct contrary to their military code, and bring the perpetrators, especially the ones who issued out orders for these acts, to book in accordance with the laws of Ghana.
The Ghana Armed Forces unreservedly apologized to journalists and some other civilians who suffered military brutality during that protest. According to the military administration, it was gravely disturbed by the unfortunate incident and had commenced investigations into the matter, but said the actions were necessary to protect some military installations. The coalition is, however, describing the military account of events of that day as totally false, describing their conduct as unruly.
The issues raised in the Ghana Armed Forces statement in the latter hours of April 15, 2021 are completely false and does not indicate any sign of remorse from an institution that has conducted itself in such unruly manner. Indeed, the actions of the men in uniform shows greater signs of indiscipline, uncharacteristic of the Ghana Armed Forces we have known over the years.
Government must abandon its agenda to build 111 hospitals across the country and use the money instead to restructure the National Health Insurance Scheme. That's according to senior lecturer at the Department of Public Administration and Health Services Management at the University of Ghana, Dr. Gordon Abekankroma. The NPP in 2020, in its manifesto, committed to construct 111 hospitals across the country. The projects are still yet to start, but speaking at a post-election policy dialogue with the media organized by the Center for Democratic Governance as part of its project to track the implementation of manifesto promises, Dr. Abekankroma said the promise is not feasible.
This was definitely a first step in not only assessing the manifestos, but also tracking the implementation of the many policies that the NPP made in its 2020 manifesto. It was based on the document that you voted for them. CDD is taking the lead in scrutinizing the post-election document and how the government, having won power, is faring with this. The assessment was broad and it focused both on health but also on education. It is in this sector of education where the fascinating proposal by Kofi Asare of the Africa Education Award emerged as one of those areas to watch. His point is that WAEC, and we've seen many instances where examinations have become fraught with leakages and questions over the validity. It's time for a regulator
is an INGO, an intergovernmental organization. 5 countries: Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Nigeria. WAEC in Ghana has no regulatory agency that sets standards, enforces standards, ensures compliance, sanctions non-compliance. So WAEC in itself is the referee and the player and the coach. So anytime a malpractice happens in Ghana, WAEC investigates itself and they are hardly guilty. If a malpractice happens in the UK, Ofcom will be the investigator, not Cambridge, not Oxford. So when you have a system like ours, it defies the very principle of accountability, because WAEC is accountable to no one.
Also at this event was Dr. Abeka Nkrumah of the University of Ghana, an health expert analyzing the issues relating to the key policies proposed in the MPP 2020 manifesto when it came to the area of health. He was very critical of government's promise back then to roll out a policy of investing in 111 hospitals across the country. His point is that is not feasible. He was emphatic: we simply do not have the resources to execute this policy agenda.
I think that this wholesale 111 is not needed, and the amount of money that is needed to do this, I believe that that money can be invested into the NHIS to restructure it and make sure that people can have access to service. Else, what is going to happen is that we would have buildings all over the place, which at the end of the day do not actually provide services.
Of course, here at Joy News, we had partner CDD and other civil society groups to bring you the manifesto tracker. And that is what we'll be continuing. Of course, now that the government is in power, we'll be analyzing the document based on which you voted for them, together with our civil society friends. And today's event is just one of many along the way. We'll be tracking the promises they make to you.
Evans Mensah is head of our political desk here at Joy News. Now, local government minister Dan Boche is charging members of the NPP to desist from publicly opposing actions of government appointees. His charge comes at the back of the recent criticism of Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey over his Make Accra Work agenda. The NPP General Secretary John Buedo had said Mr. Quartey's actions, which included decongestion of markets and clearing of waterways, will affect the party negatively. But Dan Boche says that was not right. We hear from him shortly, but first listen to John Buedo as he made the assertions on an Accra-based radio station.
After you are dealing with government and dealing with party.
So it's important to ensure that your actions in government don't affect the party negatively. For instance, the Greater Accra Minister's recent efforts we know are good, but they will definitely affect the party people, from tractor drivers to traders who are being driven away from the roads and a host of others. They will be affected. So it's up to you to balance it to please everyone.
Because obviously to affect party people.
By reacting to these assertions, local government minister Dan Boche says he was surprised the comments were made publicly. He's asking party functionaries to desist from openly criticizing government appointees.
To the regional minister, you can go as a general secretary, you have access to the regional minister, go and talk to him. If you strongly about an action by any government official, an appointee of the government, he will go to see Mr. President and talk about it. I don't expect, I'm very surprised that such a statement was made public. I'll be very surprised. I'll be very surprised. Yeah, but I'm saying that any such thing, concern is there as a general secretary and for that matter as the party. We campaign on the party's manifesto. So yes, a general secretary of a party can have concern. And if there's any such concern, they'll have a way of addressing it. But I'll be very surprised that we made possible.
Beyond your
a general, condemning which one?
the statement. It was made on live radio. I'm saying that beyond the surprise, is it something that as local government minister you are appalled by and you are condemning?
No, I'm saying that any individual, and for that matter, any party official, if there was any problem with any activity, any action of any government appointee, there should be a better way of addressing it than making a public statement.
Meanwhile, Chief of Staff Akosua Sefremo Parry has charged all regional ministers to build consensus with chiefs and other stakeholders within their jurisdictions in the pursuit of government policies and programs. She believes this will facilitate a seamless execution of government business.
The regional minister, as the political head of the region, you must take your relationship with the chiefs and other opinion leaders in the region very seriously. You should have cordial relationship so as to elicit their necessary support. And this may involve building consensus with them. This may even involve material support in pursuit of any development agenda. This is also important to institute structures to receive information and feedback on some of the policies and programs being implemented by the RCC and by other agents of government. Dear participants, one phenomenon of grave concern in the public service administration is the lack of communication, non-acknowledgement to correspondence from stakeholders and officialdom of state and non-state actors alike. Let us be very responsive in this regard, so that actions which ought to be taken are not unnecessarily delayed or not taken at all.
And so let's all come in this bulletin. Some civil society organizations against the Agyapa mineral royalties agreement say they are hopeful that government will revise its approach when it represents the deal.
All these things put together amounts to a certain breach of faith. For want of a better word, I would say breach of faith, because I was tempted to say deceit of the citizenry, which undermines public trust and faith in what government is attempting to do.
Details in business when Charles Aite takes over.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. Commercial banks in the country will, from the 30th of June, start setting aside 5% of their profit before tax as a new financial sector recovery levy. Now, this is because the Ghana Revenue Authority has set the end of June as the implementation date for the tax as announced in the 2021 budget. The communication from the tax authority also stated that the tax is payable in quarterly installments. However, for this year, the levy is payable in 3 installments, beginning from the 30th of June. Of course, the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Bankers, John Ewa, has told Joy Business the banks are yet to decide on whether they will bear the cost or it will be passed on to consumers.
That is the discussion that we do not want to get in, because already
that is the reality. You are not going to absorb these levels,
and that is why we need all the support. That's why we need all the support. At this stage, the budget that was read is just a proposal. It is not going to go through consideration, approval, and then the necessary legislations will be put in place. And that is why the time between now and when those legislations are passed is critical. And we need the media, the business community, the CSOs, everyone to come, because this is not a bank issue. It is your issue, because it has potential to affect your dealings with your bank.
Republic Bank Ghana has held its annual general meeting today. Now, the bank says it recorded a profit of 56.5 million cedis in 2020, but lower than that of 2019, which was 78 million cedis. The bank is, however, unable to declare dividend for its shareholders for the year 2020. This is in compliance with the Bank of Ghana's directive for all banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions to desist from distributing dividends to shareholders for the financial year of 2019 and 2020. The Managing Director of Republic Bank Ghana PLC, Farid Anta, spoke to Joy Business at the bank's annual general meeting.
The challenge is a complex one. The banks operate differently. We are more of a heavier lending bank, and the provisioning requirements for accounts that don't operate in a stellar manner are different from your IFRS, where you make a provision on your P&L, so you see it in your profit. In cases where you could make a good profit, but still reduce your equity, your income surplus account, because the Bank of Ghana provisioning is very different. That comes out of equity. So you could have a mismatch. And that is what has happened for us, with us over the years.
So it's not a case that you are facing some sort of financial challenge?
No. It's the way to manage what? It's a prudent approach by the Bank of Ghana that you set aside part of your capital reserves in the event you cannot recover. Now that excludes most of the collateral you hold. And everything is time bound. So it's really a safety net from the regulator's perspective, knowing what happened in the industry in the last few years, that if the worst happens, you have the capital already ring-fenced. So as you collect it, you release it back into your income surplus account.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Republic Bank, Charles William Swanner, says he's optimistic of an economic rebound following the ease of COVID-19 restrictions.
Cutting costs is a factor of good, prudent management, and it really requires a very keen eye into your cost line and your expenditure. There's really no magic to that. I would think that if any management considers the challenges that we've been faced with, they merely need to be a little more prudent in their cost expenditure to start with. The pandemic is not over yet, and we expect, of course, to see an easing of the restrictions. We expect to see globally a general trending downwards of infections and an opening up of Europe, America, and the other major markets. Once supply lines open up again in full, we expect to see trade increase, and we expect to see our business pick up. I, for one, and my board are very keen on declaring and distributing a dividend next year.
Ghana's premier mobile lottery, Star 787 Hash, has rewarded a nurse from the Nkwanta, a suburb of the Ahafo region, 20,000 cedis unique prize in the just-ended mega jackpot draw held last Saturday. Here's more.
Drapoku Mensa, who received a 20,000 cedis unique prize on behalf of her sister, Anastasia Duchumwa Mensa, indicated that the prize will be invested in her education and that of her newly born baby.
Right now, I'm very excited. Actually, she called me on Sunday to tell me that she has won 20,000 Ghana cedis. I was like, what's a day? So I was in church service, but then I wanted to even leave and listen to what she was saying. And in fact, that was the first time I even heard of it. So I was like, no, this can't be true. Even this morning when I was coming, I still didn't believe it.
So
but then,
what's your impression about Star 787?
It's real. It's real.
The head of customer experience, Richard Akotobanfo, at the event announced Star 787 Hash full house package guarantees for Saturday.
Saturday, we are looking at a jackpot value of 452,500 Ghana cedis. Star 787 Hash is all about changing lives. It's all about changing one life from the other to the better. You can't have this anywhere. All you have to do is to pick your phone, dial Star 787 Hash, and then play with your phone number. It comes with no stress. All you have to do is to play with just your phone number. When you buy multiple tickets, you stand a higher chance. So take your chance now. The more you buy, the higher your chance of winning 452,500 Ghana cedis jackpot this very Saturday. It's a promising jackpot, and you can't fail not to win that.
And that's how we end business for this segment. We're back after 8. In the meantime, Gary L. Smith is up next with sports this day.
Thank you for staying with us here on Joy News. And this is the sport. I'm Gary L. Smith.
Asante Kozako's Brazilian star Fabio Gama dos Santos is not ruling out playing for the senior national team. Gama has been in good form for the Porcupine Warriors in the Ghana Premier League and says he might consider switching his nationality if it comes to that. He was speaking to Kumasi-based Pure FM today.
Why not? Yeah?
You want to play for Ghana?
It's a not easy decision to make.
Yes.
You have to talk with your family if you offer it or not. You understand?
Okay.
But I can say not or I can say yes right now. It's a decision we have to time to think about it very good.
Former Black Stars midfielder Emmanuel Agyapa says the four-time African champions need to get a little bit of luck to win the first AFCON title since 1982. The Black Stars were close to winning the AFCON in 2015, but they lost to neighbors Ivory Coast in a dramatic penalty shootout.
You see, it's a question every time it goes through our mind as well. Even when 4 days ago I was in the gym with Jonathan, and we are saying the same thing you are asking me now. I asked him, so I said, my guy, what happened in 2015? Because I can't recall myself, or if maybe you can help me. Any team or a nation going up 2 penalty kicks and still lose to the opponent. I can't recall myself if it have ever happened in football.
I can't recall myself too.
So at times you just need small luck. It's not about what you would do on the pitch, but you know, in everything, in life in general, when even you are going out in the morning, you pray for luck, and the luck wasn't there. That's why I said, let's go out and hope that these young chaps will get the luck and win something for the nation.
In its bid to develop talents at the grassroots level, the Ghana Football Association will launch the Juvenile Champions League in September this year. Juvenile football, which is the backbone of every football nation, has been dormant for a while here. Communications Director of the FA's Henry Asante-Chum has underscored the importance of the competition.
Coast Champions League or the Juvenile Champions League. Now, this Juvenile Champions League will be a competition for the various champions in the regions. Now, we will play the district football, then the champions will move to play in the regional competition, then the regional champions will play in the national competition called the National Juvenile Champions League. Now, this National Juvenile Champions League will be an all-play-all competition. It will be a regional affair. So, some of the regions where the numbers look huge and the competition is much richer, we will have more than 2 or 3 clubs representing the region. For instance, in Upper East, you have about 11 juvenile clubs. In Upper West, it's a similar situation because they have peculiar challenges with field of play and a few other factors. You can compare that to Brong-Ahafo region, who have almost 300 clubs, Greater Accra, who have almost 400 clubs. So yes, we want to pay attention to the development of juvenile football. There is a plan in place. The master plan looks very good. We have tested the waters. We have looked at, all we have to do, and it looks really amazing. We have decided to use, game centers for the juvenile league.
And with that, from Henry Asante-Chum, that ends the sport for the moment. We'll be back on the other side of 8 with more. Thank you for your time.
The news continues on Joy News. You can also log on to myjoyonline.com for more of our news. And these are some of the stories you'll be seeing there. SNET OBS scandal, state sues Ernest Thompson, and then rent control must approve rates chargeable by landlords. That's from Emmanuel Bosu. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Now to the rest of our story. Some civil society organizations which kicked against the Agyapa mineral royalties agreement and forced government to abandon it say they are hopeful that government will revise its approach when it represents the deal. Key amongst the expectations is that government will get the buy-in of citizens, President Akufo-Addo, in the State of the Nation address, told Parliament the transaction would be tabled against for its consideration. Dr. Steve Manteo, a member of the Civil Society Alliance Against Agyapa, in his assessment of why the deal stalled the first time, explained government wasn't proactive with its engagement of the public and other key stakeholders. Joy News editor Israel Lai engaged Dr. Manteo and another member of the CSO Alliance, Nafi Chinyuri, of the Natural Resource Governance Institute at Star Ghana Foundation workshop here in Accra.
Some of the promises that the government has made in terms of value addition opportunities are not supported by the Mineral Income Investment Fund Act. For instance, government has said that they are going to invest some of the proceeds in value addition, that is gold refinery and all that. In the same breath, under the stability provisions of the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act, the government says that when the act comes into force, it shall be bound to take mineral royalty in the form it has always taken it, which is in cash. So which means you're not going to have even access to the raw material gold to add value to it. So all these things put together amounts to a certain breach of faith. For want of a better word, I would say breach of faith, because I was tempted to say deceit of the citizenry, which undermines public trust and faith in what government is attempting to do.
Right. So in talking about this same trust, you also indicated that there was a lack of trust as a result of the way the issue of Agyapa came into the public domain.
Exactly, because you know, the whole thing came into the public domain as a result of disagreement between the minority and the majority party. Government hadn't been proactive as it was at the time when we were enacting the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, where government went out of its way to hold regional consultations with the people. And then this culminated in the national conversation and a consensus, which was reflected in the final bill that became the law. And so when it came to implementation, we had no resistance. On this occasion, government did not do any consultations at all. It attempted to use its majority in Parliament to bulldoze its way through Parliament and get all the approvals it needed to be able to execute the deal. And therefore, under this principal-agent relationship, the citizens had no option than to rise up and speak out against the attempt by government to use these numbers to get this deal through.
Now, Nafi Chinyuri, you belong to the Civil Society Alliance Against Agyapa. A lot has been said, and you have made requests on government to provide information. As far as the Agyapa agreement is concerned, a lot has been said over the period. Would you now say that you have the information that you require?
The President had hinted that he is going to present Agyapa back to Parliament. We don't know in what form, whether it's been reviewed. We don't have that information and we don't have that document. I think the President and the entire country has a fine opportunity, particularly the President and the Ministry of Finance, to engage all interested parties, particularly the civil society group.
That was Israel Lai with Steve Manteo and another in that interview. That does it for those of you watching on Joy Prime. The news continues on Joy News. Welcome back to the rest of our stories. Ghana is taking steps to prevent escalation of boundary disputes with its neighbors in Togo. Following discoveries, the country's boundaries with Togo may be slightly blurred. National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Brigadier General Emmanuel Kotia, is touring the area to engage Ghanaian communities around the boundary with Togo to ensure any issue are settled amicably and that the pillars demarcating ends of the two countries have not been tampered with. Head of our security desk, Gifty Ando-Apia, has returned from the border with details. Gifty, how would you describe the community engagement?
So, Aisha, let me start from what we know. When we say that the boundaries are slightly blurred, it's because these are tiny pillars which are used to differentiate between two big countries. And so you have to actually walk to it to see it. It's in the ground. So it's not something that's so prominent for you to see. So it's blurred. And then it's also separating two people who have a lot in common. Ghanaians and Togolese have a lot in common as well. Apart from that, these are rooted in the ground, and sometimes it's difficult to see also because they are mud. Some have been covered by mud. They are also, there are some that have been overshadowed by vegetation. There are some that are just inscriptions that have chipped off, sort of. These dates back to pre- and post-colonial days, so it's a long time, which is what's making the lines blurred. Now, what's important for us to know is that if any of these pillars are removed, it means that it will be very difficult to determine where Ghana's lands end and where Togo's lands begin, or where Togo's lands end and where it begins as far as Ghana is concerned. We actually saw one of the pillars that had been removed. What the men from the commission who have been on the ground the past few days are saying is that they believe it could have been caused by erosion or by natural causes, but they want to investigate to be sure that it wasn't a deliberate attempt by anybody to manipulate our borders or to our boundaries or to manipulate the pillars there. The significance of this exercise, Aisha, is that apart from de-escalating tensions that might rise between the two countries, the people who live along these boundaries, apart from doing that, should there be any minerals found in any of the grounds in these areas, it might become an issue that will end up in courts like it happened with Ghana's boundary issue with Cote d'Ivoire. And that's one of the things that the authority or the commission wants to avoid.
Okay, so but one of the reasons this he embarked on this exercise is to actually deal with some of the issues that may create problems. What really are the issues that came up?
So he met with Togolese or traditional authorities and met with Ghanaian traditional authorities as well. When he met with the Ghanaian traditional authorities, these are some of the things, the concerns that they raised. They had concerns with the demarcation of the lands, of course, of the area. They live there, so they have lived the troubles of not being clear in your mind which land belongs to you. And they said that they have farmlands that they are Ghanaians, but they have farmlands that stretch into Togo. And they talk about coffee, they have coffee plantations, they have cocoa plantations, they have palm plantations that stretch all the way into Togo. Mind you, now our borders are shut. What it means is that even though those lands are for them, they can't go to their farms. Their children can't go to school, even though here in Ghana, we have allowed people to go back to school. They can't because it's in another man's country and the borders are shut. At a point, the head of the chief of the area, his name is Togwe Atachi V, who is a Dufia of Leklebi Kame, indicated that at a point they felt like they were bats. These were his words. They felt like they were bats because they couldn't identify as much with Ghana and couldn't identify as much with Togo as well. So they wanted these demarcations to be made clear. They have had assurances from the commission that once this program or this project is ongoing and it is being done in collaboration with the Togolese authorities, some of these things to be thrashed out. They also had issues about farmlands or lands that they said they released to government that they have not received compensation for. So these are some of the concerns that they raised with the DCE was there as well. So they raised with both the DCE and Brigadier General Kotia himself, who in turn told them that they'll be working together with them on this. But one thing he made clear was that they should not take the law into their own hands. That's what usually happens. So people will have confrontations over the land and over the demarcations, and then it becomes chaotic. So he told them that now there is an organization, a commission that is tasked with this duty. If you have issues with demarcations, refer the issues to us, the commission, and let us deal with it rather than, confront your neighbors. That, sometimes escalates and becomes a big border issue.
Gifton Apia is head of our security desk at Joy News. Now, Ghana's political landscape has over the years been dominated by the governing NPP and opposition NDC. The other political parties, including the CPP and PNC, have over the years recorded worsening electoral performances, leaving the two main parties with no parliamentary seats. Now, the parties have resolved yet again to form alliances and find resources in a quest to improve upon the electoral results There's more in the following report.
The forum was organized by the Institute of Democratic Governance, IDEG, to bring together political parties including the Convention People's Party, Progressive People's Party and the All People's Congress. Researcher at IDEG, Kwesi Jonah, explains the parties must focus on winning more votes in areas where they are stronger rather than seek to contest many parliamentary seats.
Small parties represented in Ghana Parliament, maybe the situation that we are having now will be slightly different. And so we really need the small parties. It's just that they should back up. They should look at themselves in the mirror and be able to say, oh, this is where we have gone wrong. This is where you have not performed well, and then begin to improve the way in which they operate. They have many weaknesses, some of them financial. Many of them, they even close their offices in the various regions, in the various constituencies, because they simply cannot afford to pay rent. But that is only a small part of their difficulties. They have other organizational difficulties, and that is why we think that bringing them together to learn, to find out, to examine, will help all of us.
The political parties have been sharing their own views on what they think can be done to improve their fortunes. Atodaz is General Secretary of the Great Consolidated Popular Party.
And I have started some of this discussion and encouraging my other general secretaries from other political parties that we need to form an alliance that can support in terms of our resources that we have. Ghana used to be 10 regions, now we are 16 regions, which means that our resources are stretched. We need to create executives from the constituency level, from the regional levels. We used to only have 10 regional executives, now we have to have 16. We have to have offices and representation across. So our resources are stretched. And if we don't come together and consolidate our resources and focus on specific areas and how we can have representation in Parliament, I think this problem will reoccur.
The All People's Congress agrees with this view. Mordecai Thombiano is General Secretary.
Intelligent men and women are not only found in the NDC and NPP, but they are only fortunate because they have ruled and governed the nation before, and they are well resourced than with the minor parties. So going forward, I think that we should let Ghanaians understand that if we allow politicians come to our doorsteps to give us money, then it means that they are buying our conscience. So when they win power and they are unable to meet your needs, you cannot hold them accountable. So we need to be looking forward on issues instead of monetary benefits, so that when you vote a political party based on issues and then they are not doing up to expectation, then you can hold them accountable.
The National Democratic Party says the opposition NDC risk having some individuals break away to form new political parties. The NDP was formed by some NDC members, including former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings, who cited disagreements with the party as a reason. The NDC has recently made news after some of its senior members publicly demanded accountability from its executives on why the party has underperformed in recent elections and what seemed to be a departure from its time-tested ideals. NDP General Secretary Mohammed Frimpong says the largest opposition party is struggling because a lot of its members are projecting self-interest rather than the ideals championed by its founder, Jerry John Rawlings.
Since the inception of the Fourth Republican dispensation, I don't think that has been done effectively. Somehow, after the Rawlings 2 terms, virtually this has been folded and thrown away.
If that changes, you find a party, for instance, if the NDC is to return to those ideals that you speak of, there's something that the party may...
There's a demonstration of it. Now, I don't think there's a clear demonstration of this path by the NDC. There's no clear demonstration of this power at all by NDC. And just as I've told you, the test was in that, because people will come with a whole lot of ideas, arguments, just to scuttle, a main principle, that allows for participatory democracy. And we think that until that is done, the real goal that we're seeking in our fourth Republican democracy will not be achieved.
And finally, I'm asking this because, I mean, the NDP came from the NDC. The NDC seems to be facing some challenges now. I mean, what do you make of what is happening within? People are calling for accountability within that party, among other things. I know that it's due to such similar disagreements. That's how come the NDP came about.
Exactly, this is a derailment of the goal. You know, it's a derailment of the goal in the sense that a lot of people are projecting, you know, self-interest. You know, and when you're in a party where a lot of people start projecting self-interest, you know, certainly the core philosophy, you know, is deflected. So that is exactly what is happening. Of course, it is symptomatic of, you know, what I've just told you, that we think that, you know, they have deviated, you know, they have deviated because, you know, for, you know, President Rawlings' social democratic path, you know, you must understand participatory democracy. If you don't do that, and you think you can, why not? That will come about. You know, I mean, we never envisaged the so-called hung parliament that we are seeing now, but you see, it was an uncharted path that we began. But people thought, you know, it's going to bring a whole lot of change, and, you know, so expectations were high.
The New Patriotic Party in the Cape Coast North constituency has described as dishonest claims by the MP for the area, Dr. Kwamna Mintanya, that he secured 3 road contracts for the people. According to the party, the MP, who has spent nearly 4 months in office, has been deceiving the constituents by claiming that roads under construction were because of his connections. Speaking at a news conference in Cape Coast, Constituency Secretary of the party, Ebo Saba, indicated the conduct of the MP is embarrassing.
And luckily for me to have been able to secure some contracts regarding the roads in Cape Coast North. We are going to connect the road from Academy to Nkamfua to Mori. We're also going to connect one from Akotochiro to Kwapro to Biakro.
Wow.
And we're also going to connect one at the here and Efutu Kwado, Efutu Mampong. So we are doing all these things to be able to make sure that the whole roads around in Cape Coast, especially the major ones, are more trouble. Just finished with the paperwork and then looking at which contractors would have it. So now I'm going to talk to some few contractors in Cape Coast. That is Walker, Laham.
Dr. Kwamna Mintanya speaking in an interview with Joy News, claiming he's worked so hard in this short period he's been in office by securing road contracts. He went ahead to say he was in the process of selecting contractors to handle the said contract he secured. These claims have not gone down well with the MPP. According to them, the MP appears not to know how governance works and how projects are contracted. Ebo Saba is the constituency secretary of the MPP.
The MP, in an interview with Joy TV, lied that he has secured a contract to construct Link Road from Dehia through to Efutu Kukwado to Efutu Mampong, from Academy, SHS, through Nkamfua to Mori. Again, he lied that he has secured a contract to construct a road to link Akotache through to Kwapro and then to Diakwe. All of these roads he lied about. His statement made in an interview with Joy TV was a palpable lie and very dishonorable of a member of parliament to engage in. By spewing these lies, he has exposed himself that he knows nothing about his role as an MP, his mandate, and the processes towards securing a contract. These are projects that the MP, Honorable Kwamna Mintanya, knows nothing about. We would like to ask Honorable Kwamna Mintanya a few questions. 1. Did he secure the above-mentioned road projects at the time he was not an MP? We ask because government secured contract for these roads far before he became an MP. 2. Can he tell the good people of Cape Coast North the total amount he's spending on the so-called contract that he claims to have secured.
The MPP in the Cape Coast North constituency are by thus asking the MP for Cape Coast North to desist from claiming projects that he contributed nothing in, and also desist from peddling falsehood to deceive the constituents. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyako, Cape Coast.
And from the Central Region to the Ashanti Region, the content of Ghana's English People's Book 1, 2, and 3 displayed gross gender bias that reinforces the stereotypical roles of males and females in Ghanaian society. This is the conclusion of a research finding by the Department of Publishing Studies of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The research published in the Journal of Science and Technology sought to analyze the content of Ghana's English People's Books 1, 2, and 3 for gender stereotyping. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has more in the following report.
The research involved visual analysis of male and female characters as well as the occupational roles depicted for males and females. Other conventional analysis were also performed on the activities engaged in by the males and females.
The issue of stereotyping had been talked about in academia for long, and international literature was hammering every time UN issues, be careful how you stereotypically look at things and all those things. So there was the need for us to look at it from the lower level to see if our perception about the gender issue comes from the books that we were using.
At the end of the day, the researchers found that males appeared 685 times as compared to their female counterparts, 335 times.
What we found from our work was that we used to we give the male gender more active role in the work that the textbooks were representing. So you realize that in terms of appearances, in terms of names or activities, you realize more male activities were recorded than female. And in certain corteses, especially with even profession, certain professions were normally associated with men rather than making it a neutral profession where everybody can go in. So you take something like the medical field, a doctor, you see men being drawn or portrayed as medical doctors and the females being portrayed as nurses.
Mr. Francis Nunu is urging the Ministry of Education to pay more attention to the contents of these government-approved textbooks.
The idea was to, one, let writers be aware that this could have dire consequences on the young people who is reading. So authors should be careful, and the ministry too was supposed to take a keen interest in what is being produced so that they scrutinize and make sure that whatever that we are feeding our young ones with will not have adverse effect on their way of thinking.
Ghana can't be depicting gender stereotyping in our textbooks. It's a thing of the past. Males can be nurses, females can be doctors. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And back here in Accra, in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Health authorities in the Setre East District of the Ashanti region say they are overwhelmed by high incidence of scabies in senior high and basic schools in the district. The contagious scabies disease has infected over 1,800 students in 7 senior high and basic schools. District Health Director Justice Oforiamwa has appealed for stakeholder support as the directorate struggle to contain the spread of the NTD in schools as he blames public apathy over the disease. Ohiming Teria of our health desk has more in the following report.
Tropical diseases have been generally wiped out in developed countries.
but it persists in poor and marginalized nations. Health officials in the Secretary East District say almost every community has recorded a case of NTD. Gideon Asarimante is the Secretary East District Health Surveillance Officer.
NTDs are scattered across our district. Every single community here can boast of one neglected tropical disease or the other. In Tunkumso, Motokrodia, Senyeja are the communities that have at least 5 or more. Here, you can have about 1,000 and over hamlets around this very area. And these people come with different forms. We have several use cases around this area, scabies, a lot of them, several brulee ulcer cases and other things. What we seek to do is to strengthen our surveillance team. We do a lot of social mobilization, health education in the various communities, just to make sure these people get good knowledge about the neglected tropical diseases so that in case they have them, they are able to report early.
Endemic communities share common deprivation, non-availability of potable drinking water, hard to access health personnel, spirituality, among others. At least 1,834 students in 7 schools have contracted scabies. District Health Director Justice Ofori Amwa says the directorate has struggled to contain the spread of NTDs, especially scabies in schools.
NTDs is on the ascendancy here. We have recorded about 8 to 9 different categories of them. The like of leprosy, yaws, scabies, onchocerciasis, lymphatic filariasis, and brulee ulcer. If you take a disease like scabies, as at last month we had recorded 1,834, and typically it's among the ages of 14 to 19. And that is the school-going age. And some of our senior high schools is very high there. We had about 4 senior high schools in Efigase and 7 lower primary schools in Efigase. So the number is quite huge. BU, we have a lot of them here. And they report at the very late stage where there are a lot of deformities and complications. Even last week, with the support of World Vision, we had to transport about 6 of them to Agogo Presbyterian Hospital for surgery, and if we had not taken them there, the end results would have been amputation of their legs or the arm.
Mr. Ofori Amwa says despite improved surveillance at the Health Directorate, public apathy leading to late reporting of cases is making containment difficult. He wants all hands on deck to contain the situation.
The nature of the disease is so contagious that as you fight it from this side, it begins to come from the other side. And therefore, we need to attack the disease holistically, involving all stakeholders, bringing them on board Zoom Lion, Ghana Education Service, Ghana Water Company, because it's a water-related disease. So it's very high. Most of them think that it is a disease which doesn't have a cure at the hospital. All the conditions. Brulee ulcer, they think that it's a curse. Scabies, they think that somebody has cursed you. You want to steal something as a schoolboy and you have been cursed. That is why you are scratching your body. There is medicine for it. If you take leprosy, we have recorded so far about 4 of them. These people think that it is a curse. So that perception we hold as a community, as a people, must be cleared off. We need a very pragmatic effort to get all these cases recorded earlier, giving them appropriate treatment.
From Efigase in the Ashanti region for Joy News, Oyemi Interior reporting.
And still in the Ashanti region, the regional minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, has warned his administration would deal sternly with metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives engaged in illegal mining. This comes after several complaints about the involvement of heads of various assemblies in illegal mining in the region. According to the minister, involvement in such activities thwarts efforts to deal with the menace.
All the MMDCs, anybody who engages
in activities of illegal mining, we do with the person sternly, because you see, if the president says he's put his presidency on the line to fight against illegal mining, and we are the representative of the president, and we are rather engaging in galamsey, then at least we are not faithful to the president, and we cannot represent the president. If you want to represent the president, then we should do what the president asks.
Mr. Mensah, who spoke to the media on the sidelines of a tree planting exercise to mark World Earth Day at Lake Bosomtwe, says MMDCEs who show little interest in clamping down on the activity will also be penalized.
For instance, I'm the chairman of the Regional Security Council. The MMDCs are also the chair of the Metro, Municipal and District Security Councils. So they will have to take action. Once the person takes action, you cannot maybe deal with the person or take sanctions against the person. For instance, I can deal with it today. Illegal mining is like people engaging in black marketing. You arrest the person here today, next time he is at the other side, engaging in the black marketing activity. So what their responsibility is to ensure that any time they hear or find out that people are doing illegal mining, once they are the head of the various security councils, they should draw the attention of the police and the military. For the military, they should draw my attention, because military is not under the MMDCs. They are normally under the regional ministers. But the police, the district police commander.
3 2020 Volta Regional Best Cocoa Farmers have finally received their prizes 5 months after the National Farmers Awards ceremony was held in Techiman in the Bono East region. This follows a story by Joy News' Fred Kwame Asare, which chronicled what the awardees described as a scheme to deny them their prizes. Nonetheless, the prizes presented to the awardees at the Volta Regional offices of COCOBOT in Hohoi were short of 3 items. There's more in the following report.
Ali Malik was adjudged the 2020 Volta Regional Best Cocoa Farmer. The 2020 Volta Regional Best Most Promising Young Farmer went to Samuel Ameko, while Barbara Ayiti won the 2020 Volta Regional Best Most Enterprising Female Cocoa Farmer. Unfortunately, they were unable to lay hands on their prizes after the awards ceremony was held in Techiman in November 2020. However, COCOBOT made available some of the items to be presented to the awardees after Joy News highlighted the delay in handing over the prizes to the respective winners. The items presented included 3 tricycles, 3 sets of protective clothing, 3 dual-purposed motorized slashers, insecticides, fungicides, and face masks. Nonetheless, according to the awardees, the insecticides and fungicides were short in quantity, while the motorized sprayers and cartons of chocolate promised them were not part of the items presented.
Really fulfilling as a farmer. We've actually come here today. We've been given this item that we promised. We thank the Ghana Cocoa Board for what we've received. But then unfortunately enough, that these items have been delivered to us. But unfortunately, some of the items are still not, it's not still up to you. So we're looking forward that the few items that are not in the consignment will be brought to us so we can help us expand our farms, especially the motor spraying machines. Apart from that, we can only say thank you to your election, what's it called, Joy FM, for raising this issue for us and making sure that this item, as soon as your news was aired, we've received a result and this item has been released to us. And as you can see, the items are here. We're taking them back to our farms and we are hoping that we can expand beyond what we are doing currently.
We have received the items. The Volta Regional Manager in charge of Cocoa Health and Extension Division, Linus Kofi Fiakeye, explained a report will be sent to the national headquarters for possible redress.
We went to pick the items from Accra, so these are the items given to us. We really didn't know because we are not given the list of items They will just ask us to come for the items.
For clarity's sake.
It is now we are seeing the list. I have not seen the list of the items. It is not the farmers brought the list. It has brought, we sent our the counter to go and pick the items from Accra. So they went and came back 3 times. Once they took 2 tricycles and the other one, which were offloaded this morning. So the 2 tricycles were offloaded the day they came. That was Thursday, and this one this morning. Yeah, we will draw the management attention to it. It is today we are hearing it, so we are going to write officially, draw management attention to it, and they will come back. They will send it back.
The awardees are hoping the rest of the items will be handed over to them in earnest. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Hohwe.
We're still live on Joy News. We take a break and bring you a second part of business. To stay tuned.
And in business, the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafo, has hinted that the tripartite committee has agreed to receive recommendations in determining the national minimum wage for the year. Now, this is expected in 2 weeks' time following an agreement between the government and organised labour. According to the minister, the 15-member committee is expected to consider some economic factors in determining the new daily minimum wage. He spoke to the media after the first meeting of the National Tripartite Committee in Accra.
Behoves on us to also make sure that workers are well catered for whenever we are determining this. Of course, government at this stage is also a key interested person, because in Ghana, government is also a major employer. Besides that, we are also a regulator. So we also have a role to play in this. So we met today. And then the process is that normally at our first meetings, we are not able to determine the minimum wage. It's not that we disagree, but the process is that we meet and then set the process. And the process is that normally after this meeting, we put in place a technical committee, which will consider all happenings within the economy, things like inflation, things like the rate of growth of the economy and what have you, and then submit their report to us. Then we'll meet again as a constituent body and consider the report of the technical committee. So that is exactly what we have done today. We have agreed that the technical committee should submit its report within 2 weeks' time, after which another national tripartite committee will be convened to look at their report. Their report is usually not taken as a final product. It is also negotiated. So I just want you, perhaps as the mouthpiece of the public, to know, so that when you are turning out something, you know the process, and then you let them know exactly what the expectations should be.
The General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, Dr. Agyapa, believes that the recommendations will be favorable to all parties.
Yes. And I have nothing more to say than what the minister said. It is a consultative process, as he has just said, and is determined by the tripartite partners. The chairman is the minister. He has spoken to you, the employers president, and then the TUC secretary general representing organized labor. Now, we have agreed that 2 weeks from now, the technical committee will have to submit its report to the chairman, who is the Minister for Employment. As soon as he receives the report, he has assured us that he's going to reconvene the National Tripartite Committee meeting. Then the process of negotiation starts. So we are hoping that the technical committee will bring their report as expected, and then once that is done, the process starts. And as the minister assured you, once we are done and we have concluded the negotiation, we will have another press conference, and there we can talk a bit more about many other things. Some are proposing even more, but that's why we need the technical work to be done. I don't want to preempt what they are going to do. It is very sad that this COVID thing has come to disrupt everything. We should have determined minimum wage for 2021 in 2020. In fact, by law, by April ending, we should finish, but we didn't. We met somewhere in September, October, and said, let's wait. Because that was the time some employers were sacking some workers. That was the time they were reducing salaries. And that was not a time to negotiate. Because if you negotiate during that time, you won't get anything. It looks like gradually we are recovering, but it's very gradual. And we are hoping that this time, the employers and government and organized labor will reach a deal which will make all of us satisfied. So I do not want to preempt what the technical committee is going to do. Let's wait for their report, and there will be more time, inshallah, to discuss this.
Away from that, the Dawa Industrial City, an initiative of the Dawa Industrial Zone Limited and a wholly owned subsidiary of LMI Holdings, has introduced a new flagship project and resilient infrastructure to support any kind of business. Speaking to Joy Business, the Business Development Manager, Oriel Makwe, said that his outfit aims to support and contribute to Ghana's industrialization agenda. He assures investors in Ghana and outside abroad of quality amenities for industries that operate in the enclave. There is more in this report.
Our industrial city is a flagship project to host light and heavy industries across various sectors. Speaking to Joy Business, the Business Development Manager Uriel Marquis said his outfit has zoned the city to contribute and support Ghana's industrialization agenda. According to him, the resilient infrastructure is aimed at supporting all forms of businesses. Mr. Marquis also assured investors, both in and outside of Ghana, quality amenities for industries that operate in the enclave.
Our industrial zone is supposed to be a 22,000-acre industrial city, what we call the new Tema. But we are starting with the 2,000 acres here. Currently, we have 6 clients who are here, and the vision is to populate Dawa just like we've done for Tema free zones. The advantages here are enormous for the country in terms of infrastructure development and attracting FDIs into the economy. Dawa directly is supposed to create jobs around 80,000. Indirectly is supposed to also provide job avenues for up to 250,000 job employment. So in terms of the advantage to Ghana and in the sub-region, it is enormous.
Meanwhile, the senior engineer of Enclave Power Company, Solomon Akandi Atule, said his outfit would deliver power to customers at 99.9% reliability because of the connection to a reliable network.
In Dawa, we receive power from Gridco at 330 kV, and we do our distribution at 34.5 kV for industrial and commercial customers that are sited in the industrial enclave. We are able to deliver power to our customers at 99.9% reliability. We are able to do this because we have a resident maintenance and operating team that work 24/7 to attend to customer faults and faults on our system. We are able to also do that because we are connected to a reliable network, which is the West African Power Pool Network.
Its own power substation, fiber broadband, data facilities, plant solar and water treatment projects, the park has unique benefits.
Now, small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, have been challenged to adapt international best practices in recruiting staff via online recruitment channels. Speaking earlier on the marketplace, the CEO of Jobaman, Kweku Agbesi, recounted the effects of using cheap tools to recruit staff, including engaging family and friends.
Every company needs the right people to be able to, function. You can have, the best technology in the world. You can have the latest state-of-the-art devices, but if you do not have the right people, those people, it will not drive your company forward. So,
but how are they not recruiting the proper way?
Well, it's as simple as not using Jobaman as a company to do their recruitment for them. So one of the things that we pride ourselves in as a company is, and that is what separates us from a lot of our competitors, is we rely a lot on technology to hire the right people for companies. So think about an application coming through to you as an SME. Okay, the best way what you think about is, okay, people have said so many things on their CV which look good, but you recruit the person, and then 2 or 3 months down the line you realize that, oh, actually the person has really has put a lot of superfluous information on their CVs, so they are not the right people for the roles. So what we do as Jobberman is we use technology, as I said, to assess the right people or the candidates to make sure that they are the right fit. So as we say in Jobberman, we want to make sure that we don't put square pegs in round holes. So
exactly,
that is for me the main defining factor, or that is what delineates us from our competitors. To be honest, we are in negotiations, or we've actually started recruiting for a public sector agency. Obviously, for confidential reasons, I can't give the name of that agency at the moment, but that's something that we are starting. And this is the first public sector agency that we're recruiting for, and we're hoping that, with the quality of service that we do for them, we will be able to replicate that with other agencies as well.
Let's bring you a summary of international business news. And that'll be all for business. I'm Charles Aite. Sports is up next with Gary L. Smith to stay.
For the sport, thank you for your time as ever. I'm Gary L. Smith. Let's begin with the Paralympic Games. And the National Paralympic Committee have signed a historic agreement with Inawashiro, a town in Japan which will host the Ghanaian para-athletes ahead of the multi-sport event. Joy Sports' Asari Bediako has more in this report.
Inawashiro is a town located in the Fukushima region in Japan. It is the birthplace of famous Dr. Hideo Noguchi, who contributed knowledge in the fight against syphilis and yellow fever. The Paralympic Games will come off between August 24 and September 5 in Tokyo. President of the National Paralympic Committee, Samson Dean, has explained why Team Ghana chose Inawashiro as a pre-event camping base.
In Japan for the 2020 Paralympic Games, there is this decision that some cities are so much interested in hosting some countries. So Ghana took advantage by meeting some few countries, some few host cities. They call it host town, to have a pre-training camp arrangement. Fortunately, when we listened to Inawashiro and the history with regards to Dr. Noguchi, we decided that we will push for Inawashiro.
The MPC president also reviewed details of the agreement with Inawashiro Township.
The agreement is mainly provision of facilities, feeding, that is full board feeding, giving us shelter accommodation for the period that we want to stay. Every country has its plan, depending on how Ghana intends to prepare its programs. So far, we internally, MPC, have chosen the month of June, July as the period that we want to visit Inawashiro. It also depends on other arrangements that we are putting in place.
Ghana's ambassador to Japan, Frank Ochre, and mayor of Inawashiru, Hiroshi Zengo, played crucial roles in the deal between the Ghana Paralympic Committee and Inawashiru Township.
Nicknamed Bukumbanku, popular Ghanaian boxer Brian Komoko says he's not hanging his gloves anytime soon because he wants to build a house for his 13 children. The cruiserweight boxer has been speaking to Joy Sports' Nathaniel Ato.
I tell you, I have four plots in Botiano.
Okay.
I have 2 plots in Kaswa Ufanko.
Yeah.
Ni Otunto Sempe much he give me.
Okay.
Well, now I want to breed a house, so I want you to get more fighters.
Okay.
To get money to breed in my house because I have the 13 children. Well, if you are there today, no house. My people would, my children will disgrace. Well, now I'm serious to bring in the house. And yes, and my pikin go sleep because if you see my pikins, they go to school. The money they have, they used to go school because me I no go to me.
So you pay the fees of all your 13 children.
All the children.
I see.
Now,
has anybody ever told you that they think your children are too many? 13.
Master.
Do you have difficulties in looking after them?
Every day difficult, but I watch them. They are man picking. You know something? Only a foolish dog run after the flying bird. Oba no forbid 30. No lemon ba fake papa. Well, if you are born 13, God they do. God know me. Well, if you are born 13, God they do. God,
I see.
That children God they give me.
Okay, so it's God who gave you the 13 children.
God will give me 13 children. It's not manpower.
I see.
Anything you do in this world, God know. You understand me? And the voice of people, the voice of God. Anything you do in this world, God know. If I have the 13 children, God they do for me.
I see.
Yes,
interesting
Mr.
stuff there.
And 11, 12, 13. 13 children. 13 children. Right. Anyway, sorry about that. Just making sure I heard well. 13 children. The top 16 men and top 8 ladies tennis players in Ghana have gathered at the Accra Lawn Tennis Court to compete in the 2nd edition of the Interplus Invitational Tournament on a clay court. Deputy Tournament Director Brian Anthony Bene has been speaking to us.
First edition that was held, it's been quite a while. And now we've come back to hold the 2nd edition. I think it is just in the right vein. We wouldn't want to make any serious comparisons with what happened the first time and second time. I'm happy that the program is now still running. The top 16 for the men is only to promote Ghana tennis at the highest level. And so we selected the top 16 players that we presently have in the country. When we go to the ladies, yes, we should have also run the same 16, top 16. But we're looking at it and judging the standard of play. We decided no, we will limit it to 8. I will plead with them that they should be able to invest in sports, especially tennis. Because if it is only Enterprise that is doing it, then it looks as if most of the corporate bodies are not interested in our sports or in tennis. But I will plead with the corporate body that, especially with the telecom industries, that they should be able to come up and then hold the hand of Ghana Tennis Federation in this regard.
That's the sport for now. I'm Gary Alsmith. As always, it's a pleasure having you. Let's do this again tomorrow, shall we? Bye.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. You'll find all the updates of the developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.